Content warning. Flashing lights and images, sudden or fast change in colors. This video contains spoilers for the game Downhill Snow. If I hit this jump at the right angle, I'll be able to hit the groove in the center and be able to safely gain speed at this part of the course. Downhill Snow is at its best in these kinds of moments. Unfortunately, its attempts to branch out from that format lead to mixed results. Downhill Snow was developed by Victor Interactive Software, produced by Genki, and published by Pack-In Video on May 28, 1998. A weird time to release a skiing game. Another interesting tidbit that I didn't realize until looking at the cover is that it has some sort of deal with sports equipment and apparel brand Salomon. The game comes with 4 modes: Tournament, Practice, Versus Mode, and Scenario Mode. Practice and Versus Mode are self-explanatory. In Tournament Mode, you choose a character and go up against one opponent after the other. They have a quick dialogue before and after each match, sometimes with a quirky personality. Before matches, you can choose your skis with different stats and also change your clothing, all Salomon branded of course. Matches are divided into 2 types, downhill races and moguls. Downhill races you race against your opponent, and in moguls you go one at a time down a jump or course, trying to rack up as many points doing tricks. Each mode has its own courses, with downhill races having 3 courses and moguls having 2. As for racing, the controls are nothing special, but offer enough control over the skier to never feel like an obstacle. At slow speeds, you can propel yourself forward with your ski poles. You can lean forward to gain speed faster at the expense of left and right movement. Left and right shifts your movement, the longer you hold, leaning yourself further in that direction. Holding triangle will lean you as far as possible for sharp turns, but at the cost of speed. Thus, races are about deciding between speed and maneuverability while also choosing the correct position you want to be on a course at any given time. The separation of courses for both modes ends up working in the game's favor, as the course can take advantage of the needs of the mode, namely in the placement of jumps. In races, jumps are rarely desired. To go off a jump means you lose all turning control and go straight in one direction. This doesn't just happen in terms of clearly visible jumps, but slight shifts in the height of the geometry. If you approach that snaking pass at the wrong angle, you'll lift off the ground and likely hit a boundary. The slightly humorous physics system will at least push the player away like a ball in Pong, but at reduced speed. There are also 2 types of terrain to account for. Regular snow that allows for maximum mobility, and this harder one that has less friction and thus makes it easier to turn too hard, losing speed or hitting a boundary. This management of light shifts in the skier's body and the course's terrain results in a rewarding skiing experience. In moguls, I'm not sure if it's because I don't have the manual that might explain it, but I could never get a complete grasp of the trick system. While in the air, you can do tricks through a combination of the D-pad and the L1 and R1 buttons. If you do tricks in a row, you will get more points than if there's a delay between them. Your inputs also can't be cancelled, which discourages button mashing as each input will play out in order, so you end up having to plan the specific order you'll do tricks in before they're performed on screen. I could only figure out some tricks. The more special moves I was unable to do. I did a 360 spin once, and then could never replicate it. At least the restart option is very fast, so if you mess up, you can try again, but moguls were always a pain to play through. In addition to tournament mode, the other mode of note is scenario mode. Scenario mode places you in the role of a character with the default name Junpei Okubo, a college student on a trip to the Naeba Prince Hotel with his skiing club. For a quick history, the Naeba Prince Hotel was a popular ski resort in Japan during the Japanese ski boom of around 1985 to 1995. This trip is not a completely happy one, unfortunately. Due to the fact that they only have 7 club members, this is likely going to be the last outing of the club before its closure. Junpei doesn't want to leave this trip with any regrets, so he has 2 goals to accomplish. First is to win the Naeba ski tournament that takes place here every year, and second is to confess to the girl he loves in the club. This is where the game reveals itself as not just a skiing game, but a galge as well. There are 3 possible girls to go after: Miyuki Shirakawa, Kiyomi Kanda, and Sonoko Isuka. They're all archetypes played pretty straight. Miyuki is kind and proper, Kiyomi is the tomboy, and Sonoko is the bubbly youngest member of the club. Similar to tournament mode, you'll come across other characters and compete against them in skiing races or moguls. The difference is some opponents get a little more build-up over the course of the story, an example being the main antagonist Toshihiko, Junpei's main rival and Miyuki's childhood friend, and the fancy girl Kyoko. And if you're wondering, yes, she literally does the Altogether, it's a fine, if basic, sports competition story. During this story, you'll be provided with choices that'll decide some of your practice races, or dialogue choices that impact your relationship with whichever girl you're talking to. Depending on where you choose to ski, you'll spend time with somebody else in the club. There are also unavoidable events that you'll have to decide how to deal with. Downhill snow in this aspect feels like a superficial recreation of common dating sim mechanics. At first, it's surprising how much downhill snow can channel the dating sim feel with its choices, but the artificiality of its recreation eventually begins to reveal itself. In my first playthrough, knowing nothing of the choices I'd have or how in-depth they were, I was generally nice to each character I came across. I win the tournament against Toshihiko, learning he wasn't as evil as the protagonist thought. With this, it's time for Junpei to make his confession. You can only make one choice, but with the power of save states, I was able to try this run with each character. I failed at every single one. Understandable considering my choices, so I played through with more knowledge on the structure of the game, and also used some save states to test my choices. I learned that there's only 2 times that choosing where to ski might matter. Each time, there's 3 places to choose from, each placing you with a different club member. I can conclude that there's only one opportunity to voluntarily spend time with each girl, and the time you can't, you should spend with one of the guy club members. Every other time is unavoidable, and thus you need to manage how to react in each situation. Going in the order of confession, I focused on Miyuki first. I try to be neutral to everyone else and nice to her. There's an unavoidable event where Sonoko will crash into you in a cliched scene. You'll have to recognize that Miyuki is angry in this picture, and spend time with her in order to cheer her up. There's also a scene where Junpei will say something rude to her no matter what, as well as get other club member Takaaki to lash out at you due to jealousy. There's nothing you can really do about this, only say that you'll win this competition for her. I reach the end again. I still fail at the confession, and here I realize there's actually no change in feedback for the ending. It's just a bad ending or a good ending. The bad ending will always mention that you were too close to other girls, but as I found out, even if you pick the right choices to avoid other girls, but pick one option wrong with the girl you're focusing on, you will still get the same explanation. Here I would have looked up a walkthrough to the game, but I could not find any in either English or Japanese, so I was left with only one option. Writing down every single choice I made in a run, and then in the next run, I'll change one choice, see the results, and repeat. Once I got the Miyuki ending after much trial and error, I knew the choices to avoid Kiyomi and Sonoko, and those choices characterized Junpei in a negative way. You have to be pretty rude to them, like telling Kiyomi she should act more femininely or call Sonoko a child. There's only certain situations where you can choose a more neutral option, which gives off a contradictory hostile attitude for what's supposed to be a route where Junpei is the kind of guy that one of these women wants to date. For the next 2 endings, the process of elimination narrowed, but it was still trial and error with no idea if the choices I changed mattered or not. Over and over again, I went through the story, and I was eventually able to get the other 2 endings. By this point, I had played through the story mode more than 10 times, with extra ones where I loaded save states to change some late game choices. Having done all that work to get these endings, I can easily say it's not worth it. There are intuitive choices you can make based on understanding each character's personality. Miyuki will respond well to basic romantic choices. Kiyomi responds well to friendly choices, and only near the end can you pick the romantic option. Sonoko might react well to romantic choices on the surface, but the more indirect or less aggressive option is preferred. The issue is, you wouldn't actually know this until after you succeed, because there's no feedback other than you get the bad or good ending. What at first seemed like choices that could lightly replicate the dynamic relationship building of good dating sims, instead became an arbitrary win-lose situation, making me lose what little attachment to the characters I had. The only thing that got me through all those playthroughs was the skiing, and its contrast with the story choices were felt more strongly in each playthrough. My first playthrough, I won every race in Mogul, but I had to retry a lot, and even then sometimes it felt like luck. On subsequent playthroughs, I gradually began to understand each course and how to ski through them more effectively. Shifting weight at just the right time to go smoothly up and down a small slope without catching air. Finding the right approach to a snaking path to stick to the ground and gain speed. I played these courses so many times, I even got a little creative with my riding style. Mistakes weren't always an automatic loss. Even the opponents made mistakes in races, hearing their frustrated dialogue if you're close enough to them. Sometimes I still lost with their mistakes, or it was a neck-and-neck race to the finish. There was enough variety and successful play that each new way I went through the course felt rewarding. If the story couldn't get that from the games it pulls inspiration from, the skiing itself reveals what that flexibility can offer. I think back to the bad ending of the game, reread Junpei's thoughts years after the events of the story, that college trip now just a distant memory. Certain things still stick out to him. The cheers of his friends drawn into the slopes, the icy feel of the trophy, the heat of his beating heart, the whole world shining in pure white. He's already forgotten the name of the girl he liked, the bitterness of that unrequited love having finally cooled. It's a nostalgic ending, not an uncommon framing for galge, and one that I think actually works specifically in a skiing game taking place in this location. The release of Downhill Snow was about 3 years past when it's commonly said that the ski boom ended, and a decade after the resort it was set in was at the height of its popularity. There was an idea here that had potential, if only its understanding of the relationships between people was as good as its understanding of the relationship between skiers and slopes. Thank you for watching. Oh, and one more thing. I've posted the choices for each route in the description if you want to play this game's story and not go through what I went through. If you enjoyed this video, please consider supporting me on Patreon or Ko-fi. Patreon is if you want to support me monthly, and Ko-fi is for one-time support. These videos wouldn't be possible without the generous support of my patrons and Ko-fis. Any amount helps this channel keep going. Anyways, here's my Twitter, my Instagram, my channel link if you want to subscribe, and some other videos I've made. Well, that's all I had to say. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you around.